now help me welcome Mr. Mark Bunn.
Hello, Neways! It is true, 98% of my seminar participants did report they had the best sleep of their lives. With that in mind, does anyone know the day of the week and the time of the day that most people are likely to fall asleep in a typical conference program? Friday afternoon, 2 o'clock. Thank you to the conference organisers for the challenge ahead, but I do have a solution. It's called bribery. And I'm just wondering if anyone is here today who's willing to admit for $20 that maybe you've been working a bit too hard lately, you didn't get enough sleep last night, and you haven't had enough caffeine this morning, and you think might fall asleep in the next 60 minutes. Yes, what's your name? Tanya, thank you for being honest, Tanya. Is there anyone else willing to admit for $20 that maybe you haven't been working that hard lately, you have plenty of caffeine this morning, but now that you know that the health speaker, go. You haven't heard the end of the question yet. Now that you've heard the health speakers here, that maybe you're feeling a little bit guilty about how much alcohol you drank last night at the conference dinner, and you'd really rather be asleep for the next 60 minutes.
I fall asleep in staff meetings. I'm known for it.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Vivian. And is there anyone here for $100 who is just so overwhelmed with excitement that I've been coming to speak to you, you haven't been able to sleep for the last week? Yes? What's your name? Yes, your name? Blair. You're obviously losing your memory, Blair, so there's a nice apple for you, Blair. Thank you very much. It's always interesting having an apple in the pants before you go on stage. I was talking to a group of bankers last week. Apologies to any bankers in the room. And I was standing up the back of the stage before I came on, and there was this woman in the back row kept peering over the back seat. She finally says, "Excuse me, but what's that bulge in the front of your pants?" And I didn't want to give the joke away, so I said, "Oh, it's a tennis ball." She winces in pain and says, "Oh, that must hurt. I had a tennis elbow once." Always great to come back to Adelaide. I know many of you don't come from AFL states. I know some of you come from New Zealand and some even from Asia and Europe and America. So my apologies, but I do think you can still appreciate this story. And whenever I come to Adelaide, it reminds me of my favourite story of all time. And in fact, it was a couple of years after I retired from football. I had a friend coming from overseas to Australia, so I thought, what better way to introduce him to the AFL? I'll take him to the MCG. My team, Hawthorn, we're playing the Adelaide Crows. So we get there nice and early. We're standing out the front of the ground. These two little kids, about 10 years old, and they're kicking the ball to each other. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, this huge German Shepherd dog comes bounding across Punt Road, across the grassland, dives on one little kid, starts mauling him in front of everyone. Within seconds, his mate sees what happens, starts charging towards his mate, bends down mid-stride, picks up a stick from 6 feet away. He dives on the dog, wrestles the dog off his mate, starts beating him off with the stick. Unbeknownst to us, the senior editor of the Herald Sun newspaper sees the whole thing. His eyes light up. What a story this is. Goes up to the little kid, he says, "Mate, what an act of courage and bravery. You literally saved your mate's life." I can just see tomorrow morning's paper. Back page of the Herald Sun. Big headline reads, "Courageous Hawk supporter saves mate from vicious killer dog." Little kid says, "I don't beg for Hawthorn." He says, "Oh, how about this? Tomorrow morning's paper, back page of the Herald Sun. Big headline reads, "Courageous Crows supporter saves mate from vicious killer dog." Little kid says, "I don't beg for Adelaide." He says, "Oh, who do you beg for?" "Collingwood." The next morning, front page of the Herald Sun newspaper, half page headline reads, "Low-life mongrel attacks poor innocent family pet." How many Collingwood supporters have we got today? Just going to raise your hands. Fantastic. Always good to know how many Collingwood supporters you've got in the room, just so you know how far to lower the tone of the session. So it's great to have you here. I would like to say how excited I am to be here, but I have to be honest with you. When I started to think about what I was going to tell you today, I thought, holy crap. When I go to speak to a corporate group, I can basically tell them anything I want about health and they wouldn't know any different. But I started to think of you guys, and I'm thinking, oh my God, nutritionists, naturopaths, dietitians, health experts in their own right who know far more than me about many different areas of health and well-being. I hear Isha this morning talking to you. I'm thinking, I better change my underpants. So I really acknowledge how much you already know about health and well-being. And so today I don't want to talk and patronize you about you should exercise and you should eat your fruit and vegetables and all that sort of stuff. What I want to do is maybe go a slightly different track and really just to remind you about much of the things you already know. And particularly that most important thing about health is our state of health, how we feel. And to remind ourselves about the ultimate. And to do that, I want you to remember that day. Maybe it was this morning, last week, last year, but can you remember one of those days where instead of your first thought of the day being, oh God, I'm still alive? Can you remember one of those days where you bounce out of bed with the birds, you feel light, clear and energized? You have some Maximol, you have some New Vera, you're ready to go. You jump in your car to go to work, you get every red light. This day doesn't stress you. Some maniac cuts in front of you. This day doesn't stress you. You turn on the radio and it's Britney Spears. In that moment, you realize everyone's got their limits. But you're not suicidal. You get to work, good energy, good vitality. You're so fired up. You fly through the day. The only hiccup in your entire day is about 4 o'clock in the afternoon where you lose all conscious control over your right arm and completely against your wishes, it reaches down to the bottom drawer of your desk and starts force-feeding you chocolate. But you have some jewelry infusion, ready to go again. You got so much energy, you go and play with your kids, do some exercise. Just when you think they couldn't possibly get any better, you go home, turn on the television, and Big Brother is nowhere to be seen. Who can remember that sort of day? Feel fantastic, rise to any occasion. Who feels like that? Yes. A couple of guys at the front here, obviously on Viagra. Who feels the opposite? Let's be honest. Maybe you feel a little bit older than your years. Anyone feel like that? That's what I like to hear. No one in the audience. Just in case in 50 years' time you do feel like that. Do you actually know when you're getting old? You know when you're getting old, when your partner says, darling, come upstairs and make love. And you say, pick one, I can't do both. But today we've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is that this state of functioning, what I call our natural high state, is our natural state of functioning. High energy, high vitality, clear thinking. The bad news is that 80% of what we get told today by modern Western health science is either completely wrong or it's so complicated, confusing, and contradictory, it will prevent us from having this state of functioning. If you don't like a study that's just come out from Harvard or Yale or Stanford, don't worry. Just wait another couple of months and another study from another prestigious university on the other side of the world will tell you the exact opposite thing. 20 years ago, after finishing a honours degree in Western health science, I began studying the Eastern traditions of healthcare, Maharishi Ayurveda and something called Ayurvedic medicine. What I found was that these long-standing Eastern traditions have never changed once their advice of what we need to do to have optimal health and well-being. A decade ago, I began studying the healthiest, longest living cultures on our planet today. Right under our noses, there's 8 or 9 very well-researched cultures that live to 80, 90 and 100 plus years of age with almost no incidents: heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis. And do you know how much they know about good fats, bad fats, low-carb diets, glycemic index? About as much as Paris Hilton knows about a hard day's work. Now, if you're like me, or you're a nutritionist or a dietitian in the room, we love this sort of stuff. It's good for us. But most of you, you probably couldn't give a rat's. And in fact, you're often better off not to know everything about that. It'll make you more stressed. The good news today is we're not going to get into that. What we're going to do is simply remind you of what you intrinsically know to be the simple, common sense, age-old, timeless wisdoms of health that I will guarantee you, if you change and embrace just 1 or 2 of these wisdoms into your lifestyle from today, you will get more energy, less stress, better life balance than if you take on every modern health fad out there in the market today. Is that a good investment for your time today? Fantastic. So to do that, you notice I talk very quickly, so I want to jam everything I can into the next 60 minutes because there's so much to get through. So I want to actually get you into the natural high state already. I know you already are, but it's after lunch, graveyard shift. So if you can all just stand on your feet, and I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, "You are so good looking." Go. Okay, that's enough. Take a seat. Hugs are good. We like the hugs. Woo! You're not that good looking. It's all right. Again, a couple of guys at the front here are looking at their hand mirrors. So, the number one difference between these long-living healthy cultures and our own high disease culture, this is for all your friends out there, is something that they understand as the natural laws or the natural cycles of life. Think about our universe. We have day, we have night, we have summer, we have winter. Drop this pen. The law of gravity dictates that that pen will fall to the ground every single time. It's a fundamental, immutable law of nature. It's a fundamental, immutable law of nature that if you are born in Melbourne, you are 3 times as intelligent as everyone else in the world. Where's our Melburnians? Yeah, all right, go. So the analogy is, it's like a surfer surfing a wave. You ask any good surfer what the absolute key to surfing is, and additional to having a decent surfboard and some coordination, they will generally tell you one key thing: timing. If you catch a wave when the wave is at its peak, the wave does all the work. Ask a surfer what it's like to get a great wave, and they'll say it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's exhilarating. Unless they're under the age of 25, when they'll say it's fully sick, radical, dude. When I go surfing, I'm usually paddling out about here when the wave's crashing down about here. For me, hard work, mouthful of water, bloody surfing, never going to do that again. Our lives and our ability to enjoy high energy, vitality, crystal clear thinking, high motivation throughout our life is exactly the same, because the ancient Eastern teachers tell us that our minds, bodies, and emotions go through 6 4-hour cycles every single day. That if we can eat, sleep, exercise, and do different parts of our job, if we've got that flexibility, in tune and in harmony with those natural laws, we will experience work and life with more energy, less stress, better motivation, greater mental clarity, and less extra weight each and every year. If we violate those daily cycles year after year, we will experience work and life with less energy, more fatigue, poorer sleep, and maybe 1 or 2 extra kilograms of weight around our waist or belly each and every year. Unless you're the sort of person who, like me, can eat whatever they want and never put on weight. Who hates these sort of people? Excellent. Interesting. I'm having dinner with a metabolic scientist the other week. I said, mate, you guys always come up with these fancy technical terms for people that put on weight easily. Hypometabolizers, endomorphs. I said, how come there's no scientific technical term for people like me who can eat whatever they want and never put on weight? He says there is. Bastards. So, you're probably thinking, well, how do we know when these cycles occur? Well, traditionally, before we had Oprah to tell us how to live our lives, they would observe Mother Nature. They would go outside because they were connected to the environment more than we are today, and they would observe over time and distance that the same cycles and rhythms that govern everything out there are the exact same cycles and rhythms that govern everything in here. Which is why today they would tell us we're absolutely crazy for spending trillions and trillions of dollars analysing every little fat and counting calories. Because they tell us you can eat the best food in the world. Take the best products that you do already in the world. But unless we first burn, cook, or digest those products, they will do absolutely no good for us. They will not give us energy and vitality. They will not build up healthy cells, tissues, and organs that don't get so diseased as we age. And 3, they won't get into a form that our body recognizes as a waste product, so we will not eliminate them from our bodies. And what do we do when we don't eliminate stuff? We store it. And we all store it in different places because we're all different, aren't we? Some are tall, some are short, some are big, some are small, some are highly intelligent, some are Canadian. Sorry, we got any Canadians here today? Oh, we do have a couple. Sorry, I'll try and talk a bit slower. No, it's all good. So we store it in different places.